If you have ever put your heart and soul into an online launch for your digital course or product and it didn't quite go the way you planned, boy, do I feel for you. Because it doesn't happen just to you, it happens to a lot of people. The good news is there are some things that you can check out to troubleshoot to make sure your next launch is even better. Hey, I'm Tracy with Launch Tech Made Easy, and I love to help people with their online launches. Now, before you determine whether or not your launch was a success, there's a few things that you need to know. First of all, launches typically don't convert as high as we hope they're going to. So if you have a warm, engaged email list, that means that people are interacting with you on a regular basis. You can expect that the people on that list are going to convert into buyers at about 3 to 5%. That's not a very high rate of sale, right? So make sure that the people that you're launching your product to, whether it's a course or a membership or some type of digital product, make sure that they really know, like, and trust you. And that's going to help your numbers to get up a little bit higher. If somebody's never heard from you before, the chances of them buying from you are a lot lower. In fact, launching to a cold list, like a list that you built on Facebook, those numbers are more like 1 to 3%. So before you get really bummed out about the fact that your launch didn't do quite what you thought it was going to, make sure that you're actually considering the size of your list. Make sure you're considering the size of your list before you determine whether or not the launch was actually a failure or a success. I mean, it's okay to be disappointed about it, but don't knock yourself over the head too much if it just happens that your list isn't very big or the people on your list are kind of new and don't know you very well, okay? So maybe your launch actually was successful. You just didn't think it was because you didn't get the numbers that you were hoping on. Now, ways to improve your next launch. I'm going to give you 3 really quick ways that you can kind of analyze the launch that you just went through to determine if you actually could have some areas of improvement for your next launch. So the first thing that I suggest you do is go ahead and survey the people that were on your launch list. Now, in some cases, that might be your entire list. In other cases, maybe you were launching to a very specific group of people. And what you want to do is ask them, why didn't they buy from you? Now, you can word that in a little bit nicer way, and depending on the statistics that you have from your email service provider, you may be able to select the people that you know looked at your sales page, or the people that you know opened your emails, but they still didn't buy. Reach out to them, ask them, hey, I noticed that you were interested in the course that I was offering, but you didn't buy it at the end of the day. Can I ask what held you back? What would have made that a no-brainer purchase for you? And if you can, if your list is small, or if you know some of these people personally on your list, I encourage you to reach out to them reach out to them. I can't think of the word I want. Reach out to them personally. Reach out to each one of them personally, one-on-one, and ask them in person if they would just have a chat with you. If you have a larger list, then go ahead and send out a survey. Now, I always recommend a survey over a, reply to this email type of call to action at the end of an email, because a survey can be thought of as a little bit more anonymous, and people are more likely to let you know what they truly feel if they think that they aren't actually having to compose a long email to you and really explain themselves. So it can be a really simple survey, 1 or 2 questions set up on something free like Google Forms or SurveyMonkey, and just ask, hey, I noticed that you didn't buy my course. Why is that? What would have made this a no-brainer for you? What was this missing? Something like that. And then the second question should be, if you'd like me to follow up with you, if you'd like to talk to me in person, please please give me your email address. And that way you open the door to start a conversation with them, because maybe you can convert them into a buyer if they just get a few of their questions answered that they were afraid to ask. Okay? Now, if your list is small, or if you know the people on your list, or if there are people on your list who you thought, oh my goodness, this is the perfect program for this person and they didn't buy, then I would definitely reach out to those people and say, hey, would you mind hopping on a quick call with me and chatting so that we can kind of talk through some things? Don't put them on the spot, but just kind of ask them, I'm really curious. How could I improve? What would have made this a better idea? What would have made this a better fit for what you were looking for to solve the pain or problem that you have? Okay, so don't be afraid to reach out and talk to the people who are on your list. Next, you want to examine your pre-launch content. So that would be either the videos that you sent out, sometimes we call them free trainings, maybe you did a webinar, maybe you did your launch live, but examine what you offered to people during that process and make sure that you didn't either give them so much content that they didn't have time to get through it all, or that you didn't actually answer all of their pressing needs and give them enough to work on so that they didn't feel the need to buy your course. Sometimes this happens, I see a lot, particularly with challenges. If you're doing a multi-day challenge, at the end of the challenge, they've gotten such an amazing transformation and such a great win that they're like, oh my gosh, I don't even need the course anymore. Or you maybe gave them so much in your webinar that you delivered that they took a lot of notes and they're thinking, well, I can work on this for the next 3 months and implement what she gave me free. And then if I still have questions or have an issue, I'll just buy her course the next time that she launches it. So there's a really fine line between over delivering and giving them so much that they don't need to buy from you, and really giving them a quick win and letting them see the transformation of the work that can happen, the transformation they can get if they work with you. So go through and kind of analyze what you sent out. Did you give them too much how? You want to make them aware that there's a problem, let them know that yes, they can solve this problem, you can help them solve the problem, get them really excited about that, give them a few nuggets that they can really dig their teeth into, but don't give them so much of the how that they actually don't need to pay you, because the how is your paid program, your offer, your membership, your course, your digital product, whatever it happens to be. And then the third thing you want to check is you want to go through your email list and kind of spot check it. And look at your statistics on the different emails that you sent out and kind of see, okay, was there a lot of interest at the beginning? Was I getting a lot of click-through rates at the beginning and they kind of died off? Did some subject lines get way more interest than others? And see if there's any patterns there that you can, kind of wrap your mind around and identify as what could potentially be a problem. You don't want to necessarily look at open rates. Open rates aren't actually all that accurate of a statistic anymore. So make sure that when you're sending out emails that you have the tracking turned on for any of the clickable links that you have in your email. And you also in these emails only really want one clickable link in each email. You can have multiple versions of the same link, but you want only one job for them in each email. You want them to click one link and go to either one video or one webinar or one landing page. You don't want to give them a lot of options on your landing pages. So look and see, are they clicking the link? If they're not, then there's something about the copy of that email, or there's something about what you're telling them about the link that makes them not that interested in it. So you might want to go through and tweak some of your emails, and the ones that are a little weaker, see if they can be written to be a little bit stronger. Also, really take a look at the people on your email list and think about how they got there. Now, if you have tagging set up or segmenting on your list, you should be able to see how did people get on your email list. So every time I set up a new lead magnet, I use ActiveCampaign, the person is tagged with the lead magnet that they opted in for. So I can look at one particular contact and I can see all of the lead magnets they've ever received from me, what their email habits are. I can see if they've ever unsubscribed or if they've ever made a comment or what links they've clicked through. If you do that, and if you have a really large list, you're going to have to just kind of pick and choose a few people and kind of get a snapshot view of what people were doing during your launch. But if you do that and you start realizing, oh my gosh, nobody was opening anything, nobody was clicking anything, you realize that the problem maybe wasn't your offer, maybe it was your emails. Or if they're opening your emails and they're interacting with your emails, but then they're not buying, you're going to know, okay, well then they clicked the link, but then they got to the landing page, and the landing page they didn't, or the sales page they didn't buy anything, or the landing page they didn't watch the video. Then you realize, okay, it's something about that page. They were interested, they went to the page, but then they didn't take action on that page. So that gives you something else to consider and think about. You also want to make sure that what you offered is in alignment with whatever the lead magnet is that they opted in for. So in my world, my lead magnets are things like I have a launch planner, I have a launch checklist, I have a technology roadmap that kind of lays out the beginning process of setting up a funnel and the different pieces you need. If I look at somebody who was not interested in my 5-week launch boot camp, for example, and I look at their profile, their inside active campaign, and I see, okay, well, they opted in for my technology roadmap, but they've never had any interaction with anything to do with launching, well, then it makes perfect sense that that person probably isn't going to be interested in any of my launch content, right? So particularly if you've sort of pivoted a few times with your business, it could be that someone came onto your list with one particular problem that they were trying to solve, and they opted in for a lead magnet to solve that problem, but now your business has shifted a little bit. And so the launch that you just did offering your paid product isn't exactly what they're looking for, because it isn't why they were on your list. That's okay. That doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Doesn't mean that that person shouldn't be on your list. It just means that you need to see where there's a disconnect, and maybe what could you offer to those people, in my case, who are interested in funnels but aren't quite ready for launches yet. Should I be offering those people a different product? Should I segment my list out and make it a little bit more specific so that I have 2 different lists with different people on each list? So kind of go through and look at your list and see if there's any trends there that you need to pay attention to for your next launch. If you go through all of these things, it's going to help you. It's going to help you improve your next launch. It's going to help you start to think about what you can do differently right now to prepare your subscribers, your lead magnets, your landing pages, to make sure that they're prepared for your next launch. And it can also let you see if maybe you need to tweak your offer a little bit. Maybe your offer didn't quite hit the mark. If that's the case, then you may want to come up with a different offer, pivot your offer a little bit, or you may want to come up with a new lead magnet that leads into your offer that's going to attract a different type of person to your list. All things to consider. So I hope this helped you figure out some of the ways that you can kind of debrief your launch in a real simple way without getting too much into numbers and analytics. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a few weeks. But this is just sort of a high-level overview of what you can do that gives you an indication of where you maybe missed the mark or where you hit the bullseye and there's something else that just needs to be tweaked a little bit. Because here's the thing. Too many people do their first launch, don't get the results that they want, and decide, this was way too much work. I am never doing this again. But think about the fact that nothing that you do in life that you do really well worked out perfectly the very first time you tried it. You need to practice, you need to iterate, you need to improve. So if your first launch didn't go the way you hoped it would, that doesn't mean that you need to quit or that you should quit. Think of it as your practice launch. Now you know all of the pieces that have to come together. Your next launch is going to be so much easier. You have some pieces that certainly worked and some maybe that need a little extra attention. But by taking all of them and thinking them through, you're going to come up with a process that's going to improve your launch every single time. If you would like help going through your launch and having me walk through and do a launch debrief or even a launch audit for a launch that you're planning to do to make sure that you've considered everything, that is a service that I offer, and the link will be right below this video. I will also include a link to a blog post that'll take you a little bit more in depth to this topic.